No, not yet.
We approved it. We approved it at Monday's meeting.
I said it might not look appropriate to appoint Monday and immediately sit on Thursday.
Well, no.
Yeah.
You are absolutely welcome.
No, that's it.
Yeah, you're on. Good evening. Welcome to the Harrison Township Planning Commission meeting. Today is Thursday, July 17th, 2025. We'll call the meeting to order at 7:05. Roll call, please, Ms. O'Parker.
Member Batcha.
Present.
Member Devlin.
Here.
Member Duncan.
Here.
Member Tominello.
Here.
Member O'Parka. Here. Chair Murray.
Present. Thank you. Approval of the agenda as presented, please.
So moved.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have our June 18th, 2025 unapproved minutes. May I have a motion to approve those, please, or please state any changes?
So moved.
Okay, Mr. Tominello, supported by?
Second.
Sorry. Tim Duncan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We don't have any hearings and reviews. We have unfinished business, and that's our zoning amendment discussion. So I will turn this over to our planner, and we'll get started.
Okay. If you want to see anything up on screen, I can pull things up on screen.
Sure.
I also have some aerial map, the Macomb County GIS map, if we want to pull that up too. I guess I would refer you to the memo that I had provided in the packet. Nothing has changed since it's dated June 11th, right? It was on the agenda last month, and then we didn't have time to get to it. So nothing has changed from when you saw it in your June packet here. I would say the bulleted items here in the memo summarize the changes in this latest draft from the prior draft that we had reviewed a couple months earlier to that previously. They're also in the packet of information. The changes from the first draft are highlighted in yellow for you as well. So hopefully they stand out nicely so you can see changes between versions. One of the things that we added, you'll see in the draft, is that proposed language has been added to define and then prohibit short-term rentals. So this topic was not, we didn't really touch on that at the first draft, but this came to our attention from the supervisor's office and the township attorney, who apparently are wrestling with this topic of short-term rentals. Everyone aware of what a short-term rental is. Right now, the ordinance is generally silent on the issue, other than to say that a dwelling is a dwelling, a hotel is a hotel, and there's general enough language in the ordinance that if the building official is asked, do we allow short-term rentals in the township, there's something that we can cite as a deterrent. But the supervisor and attorney asked that at least ask the Planning Commission to consider the possibility of defining short-term rental and prohibiting short-term rentals. And so you'll see that language on pages 71 and 207. Not of the meeting packet, right, in the very bottom right corner, but pages 71 and 207 of the zoning ordinance draft. And note that I didn't, the pages in the zoning skip because I didn't include any pages that didn't have any proposed changes. So page 71, for Ken's benefit. So maybe I'll start with the definition. So that's toward the back. Okay, the definition, short-term rental. So adding a new definition, essentially saying that the rental of any dwelling unit or any unit or group of units for terms of less than 30 days. That would be considered a short-term rental. But it doesn't, for the purposes of this ordinance, it doesn't include a hotel and motel, which we regulate differently in the C2 district. Daycare homes, foster care homes, bed and breakfast, those are treated and regulated. Convalescent homes. So it lists the things that are regulated in the zoning ordinance and allowed. But short-term rental is defined. And then back on page 71, adding a new section of the zoning ordinance. In the general provisions. Do it.
Can I just ask, has there been a problem with short-term rentals? Why would we want to just,
Yep.
the entire township, would we want to have it in the
Right, yep. So here would be section 11.22, so we would add this general provision saying that short-term rentals are not appropriated and therefore prohibited. Now, the question was, okay, let's at least share this approach to the Planning Commission, but then the question is, okay, first of all, are you okay with prohibiting them in the residential districts? Second, are there districts like the V1, maybe the waterfront, maybe the commercial districts where maybe these could be appropriate? I do know that there was, I remember Brent saying that there is a gentleman who has a property in the waterfront district who was hoping to turn their marina building into some short-term rental type thing. Mm-hmm. And when you think about it, it's really not much different than a hotel or a motel, which are allowed in commercial
wouldn't be
uses.
considered a bed and, like, could that, something
Well,
like
that's
that
what we had
fall into
suggested
a
to
bed
them.
and breakfast? Because that seems
Yeah.
more like
Yeah.
something we would want to regulate as a bed and breakfast because we know it's gonna, and it's at a marina.
Yeah. Yeah.
Except for a bed and breakfast is run a little different. I mean, a bed and breakfast, you have ordinary residential occupation of the owner who stays when different people come in
Yeah.
and could
As
have
opposed to
this
like a
room and this
Vrbo
room.
or
Yeah, as opposed to one
Right.
family or one couple.
Right.
I don't know why we would want to deter something like that.
In the
in an
village
appropriate
district.
area.
Yeah,
I mean, we're boat town.
Yeah.
That's what everybody tells me.
that's true. I think
And we have nowhere for anyone who wants to stay here for a weekend and visit our businesses and
Or
community
use the marina or use the
to stay other than the roof.
DNR. They end up getting a Airbnb in Chesterfield.
right now in the village district, for example, let's see if hotels and motels are allowed. Yes, lodging is allowed in the V1 district. So presumably you could approve it as a lodging facility. It's certainly allowed in the C2 district. I don't believe hotels and motels are allowed in the waterfront district right now. They're not.
So you're saying a hotel is allowed in B1?
Lodging is, yes.
Pretty much that's the only area, and then C2. you said, but
C2.
We don't have much that's zoned C2.
Right. So Sounds like you're willing to explore potentially short-term rentals in the C2, V1,
C2 is what?
or the general business, general commercial district.
What are marinas though? Waterfront.
Yeah, WM, Waterfront Marina District.
Yeah, so I guess I'm just thinking, like, you know, do we want a high-rise hotel on, you know, between Shook and Jefferson? I'm thinking no. So if that falls under C1, I wouldn't want to see that.
What did we turn that medical building right around the corner from Eddie's Drive-In?
Somebody proposed.
And did they end up using that as a short term for fishermen? Remember they were going to use that for
Right.
fishermen and
No,
snowmobilers?
that never went.
It never happened.
So yeah, I don't know if we want. B1 maybe is a good location. I'm just sort of thinking out loud.
Well,
But Shook and Jefferson's a V1 district.
That is V1.
Right, but I'm
Okay.
talking about, you know, we have people coming to us that in the residential areas along Jefferson, and I don't know if that's R1C or not, but those homes are, they want the high rises, so just, you know, I don't know, I don't think that's what we want to see there.
It's already allowed though, right?
In the V1,
In the V1.
hotels and motels are already allowed.
Right, and but where's the boundaries of the Shook B1?
Yeah.
I mean, a short-term rental is more of a residential.
less than 30 days.
Rather than
Yeah.
a hotel, which has to have a certain amount of parking.
Right.
Has to have staff
And-
parking. Has to have commercial delivery parking.
So if someone chooses
So they are
to
two different things.
rent out their home on the waterfront and rent their
It's
boat
very
along with it for
Yeah.
a week or 2 weeks as a,
Yeah.
Verbo's the only thing that I can think
Yeah.
of, but what Airbnb.
Airbnb.
Yeah, so are we saying that that's absolutely restricted now?
But, I mean,
That's what-
I'm gonna say, like, Lake St. Clair was just nominated one of the top bass fishing lakes in the country, or in the world. Like, number 3 or something out of every lake in the entire world. And those people come here to fish and use our boat launches, but they have nowhere to stay. So, I mean, that,
Yeah.
where do they go?
That's why I like.
To
Short-term
Roseville,
rental,
and then
waterfront.
their stuff gets
Yeah,
stolen at
waterfront.
Roseville.
Yeah, the
That
V1.
really happened.
Yeah.
So they don't stay,
No, I agree.
they don't
I
stay
agree.
in Roseville anymore because they came here for the tournament one year and all of their trailers got
Right.
stolen.
Yeah, I remember that, it was a couple years ago.
They say in Chesapeake.
Or they go
Sterling
all the way
Heights.
to Algonac to camp somewhere and then actually they're coming to Chesterfield this year and Chesterfield Township has round the clock security so they can leave their trailers at the park. Because that's their biggest concern about coming to our location specifically.
That's a bummer.
Dealing with this up in Cadillac, this is like I've been living this for 2 years.
Yeah.
This is like hot topic, right?
Yeah.
So when Cherry Grove drafted their ordinance, so they first, so I only bring it up to think this through.
Absolutely.
First, it started off in the Wexford County zoning ordinance, similar to this dialogue, and they found there was no police power up there running it through zoning, so they felt they had to write it as a regulatory ordinance so that then township could write citations against violators, because you really can't do it under zoning. So that was something that they thought through. As it relates to some of this conversation, when that was being drafted, the attorneys in Cherry Grove were of the opinion, and it's going where you're going with it too, but more on a legal sense, that legally you're in a better position to just allow it, but then dictate requirements where, how big, blah, 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 as opposed to just flat out saying no, because that probably would fail in court if you just flat out say no. So they took that leverage by saying, okay, we're going to allow, and then we started going through a whole process of saying, where are you going to put it? how many can be built, the distance between them. It's not going to be as big of an issue here as it is up there. I get it. But you're still on the waterfront and you still have potential that it could become a good cottage industry pretty fast, right? Things that most of these ordinances, which gets outside of zoning, address. So this always falls into using it under residential property. Like if you're going to do it on any type of commercial, then it's just commercial property, and like it doesn't matter. You're trying to manage it in residential districts. What you're doing. Okay, so it's going to be single family houses.
So it doesn't destroy the peace.
Right, and we don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's what you're after. Because in
Transient.
commercial, you do what you do, right? But what communities have been doing is, since they still want to view it as a commercial use of residential property, they have been, which I think is an awesome idea. They all have gotten like really firm on fire safety egress. Because they're saying, okay, these are people that are in a home that aren't familiar with the means of egress and where the fire extinguishers are, so they get really tough on that about having annual inspections, and the fire department comes out and makes sure all smoke detectors, I mean, all the things you would want, you'd have to do on an annual. So they got into, or it's going with it, is that they just got into like a really strong regulatory position about managing life safety.
They licensed it?
Yes. You had to be licensed, you had to pay a fee, and then the
for
fee
the
pays for the
inspection.
fire department to come out and do their
So
inspections.
it's a clean business,
Yes.
it's not on the side. Yes, my aunt and uncle are coming to visit on a regular basis, they just happen to be, yeah.
And so the fire stuff, I get, it's going to be outside of zoning. I just wanted to bring up that just legally, what up there legal counsel said is you're better off just saying you can, but just put constraints against it about where, how big, how many, blah, 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 was where they took it.
Well, and I think that the village district is a desirable place to be if we are trying to capture that tourism traffic that's using marinas and fishing and going to restaurants. And the businesses that are there in that district benefit from additional bodies.
So V1, V1A, and possibly waterfront.
Yeah, WM.
Waterfront marina for sure.
And you've got summertime, and then you also have your snowmobilers in the winter, and ice fishermen, and that activity.
So let me ask them, so someone wants to, they want to short-term rent their home. How do we even know about it? They're just going to do it.
Right.
Neighbor.
Neighbors complain.
Yeah, if somebody
But you got to do a
complains,
lot
then
of
you- then
complaining
you have an
before
ordinance
anything
that can
happens
say,
in this township.
Hey,
Let me just tell you.
can't do that, right?
Right.
Heard that.
But here's my question that I was gonna ask is, if we just blanket don't allow this, like you said, is it gonna be enforced?
Well, that really, we don't
Are
know.
we creating more enforcement issues?
So I don't know if it's enforcement issues.
Let me get
I mean,
to-
it's up to the enforcement department to enforce it. But if there's an issue, now they have,
Yeah, but would this be overwhelming our enforcement department,
Right.
who already seems to not be able to enforce everything that?
well, but if it
I like
gets
the
to
trailers
point-
and the boats.
If you get up a lot of complaints and they end up going to court, at least they could say, hey, this is our ordinance. Now it's up to the judge to say, either can't do it or.
I'm not in favor of a moratorium.
What about residential waterfront mixed use? That's a district we have too. Right here.
Right, that's primarily residential though.
But there's also some marinas and stuff
There are.
mixed into that.
But I think it's a little bit different of a character in terms of the more intensive marina is all water, is WM versus the residential waterfront mixed use.
This is a real weird spot. There's like business, home, business, home, business, gas station, home.
We could look into it.
We would want to allow it there. That's what I'm saying. And actually now I'm looking at this and thinking, why isn't it just part of
The waterfront.
marina?
So that's a great point. Enforcement is like Cherry Groves has the same issue with enforcement. So you do open up a box of,
Yeah.
if you're going to have it, to give it some teeth, you got to enforce it.
Yeah, it's tough. You'd have to monitor websites.
That's how they do it. So
You'd have to-
they monitor Airbnb and VRBO, and I've not seen him operate the program yet, but they have the ability, they can set search criteria within the township, and if they see an address kick up saying they're advertising, then you're advertising, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be complaint driven.
A check right now.
most everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we shoot ourselves in the foot if we just blanket this trip.
Okay. Sounds good. I'll share that with the attorney.
There are no short-term rentals showing up on Verbo
Thank
in our zip code right now.
Which doesn't mean that they're not.
That's right.
Right.
Right, I agree, but I'm just saying I
Yeah.
punched in.
I'll share this. I'll share your thoughts with the attorney and supervisor. And the other thing too that I wanted to get Rosemary's thoughts on is the whole idea of do you do it in the code of ordinances or do it in the zoning? Because if it's in the zoning, then you get into the grandfathering issue, where if we then added it explicitly in the zoning ordinance and prohibited them, if somebody could claim that I was operating Airbnb before, I'm now grandfathered.
That's a good point.
And if it's outside of the code of ordinances, we don't have to worry, or outside of the zoning, then we don't have to worry about it. So I'll mention that to Rosemary as well and just get her thoughts. The other thing that's new in this draft from the prior draft, the second bullet here, is that as we did create language that would establish a new residential clustering option, which would allow for the attaching of residential units to encourage the preservation of open space. And it would be a special land use in the single-family residential districts. Much like the option, there's two other options that are available. Planned unit development is another option, and then there's the residential open space development option. So the difference is that the residential open space development option, which is already on the books right now, if you remember the Brigantine, the second phase of Brigantine, they had proposed under that option. That allows you to have smaller units, smaller lots, but it still requires detached homes. So this option is basically built on that same option, except it will allow for the clustering of units, attaching of units like townhouses or something like that, similarly in exchange for open space. Identical to the other option that's already on the books, it allows for a 5% bonus if you preserve a certain amount of open space. So does this option if you would preserve a certain amount of open space. So that language is it's on page 160 of your packet. This is not, this is just an option that a property owner can seek and request through special land use approval through the Planning Commission.
Well, I think what the township can mostly build out and what's left is really very specific spaces that don't, fall into
Traditional,
yeah,
a rectangular,
I was going to say regular,
nice
but yeah.
80 acres
Yeah,
parcel kind
exactly.
of a thing.
So this does provide developers another option, and I think that's a great thing.
I agree. I think any more flexible options that we can have, or more tools that we can have as a planning commission.
Yeah, lessen the confusion and
Yeah.
The unwarranted discussion and trying to pinpoint into a certain lane. So yeah.
So you can definitely take a look at that. And then I don't intend to go line by line here tonight,
No,
but you've
yeah.
got it in the packet here, so take a
agree.
look and then come back next time we discuss
Okay.
with additional questions or comments that you might have. Okay, based on our discussion that we had in May, we had talked about in the R1C and the R1D districts, as you recall. We put the data in, we found out how many parcels are zoned R1C, R1D, the percentages of those parcels right now that are already non-conforming was in the 40, 50, 60% range. We looked at these areas, and so we had said and kind of agreed as the Planning Commission that it would be appropriate to reduce the minimum lot size and widths for those two districts, and that's included in the draft. I'll pull up the language, as well as the impervious surface ratios for those two districts. So I'll just pull open so we can see real quick.
Can you list the number of homes that would be more
Yep.
compliant? And I don't know what the percentage is based on all homes in those categories or districts, but it's a significant number in each case, I think.
Okay, so here's the R1C. Basically looking to reduce from 9,600 square feet to 8,400 square feet, and then width from 80 to 70. Maximum lot coverage from 30 to 40. Maximum impervious surface coverage up from 45 to 55. And again, that was based on this rationale here of there's 2,800 parcels zoned R1C presently. 1,100 of them are less than 9,600 square feet right now, so 41%. And so we've had experience with people, especially when there may be a lot a vacant lot in between two properties, and our rules say that if it's undersized and it's the same ownership as the adjacent property, then you're done. So we're essentially forcing them to keep that abandoned as opposed to a developable lot that's identical in size to every other lot on that block that does have a home. So that's a practical limitation. And also the fact that 1,100 parcels are non-conforming by size in the township. So this even wouldn't fix, by reducing it from 9,600 to 8,400, wouldn't fix all 1,100. There will still be some, but it does, it's a step to help address that issue. And then for the R1D district, to go from 8,400 right now to 7,260, from the width of 70 to 60. Lot coverage increase of 35 to 45, and then increase of impervious surface coverage from 50 to 60. Now this is based on the fact there's 2,200 parcels zoned R1D, and almost exactly half are less than 8,400 square feet present. So basically, reducing it to 7,260, that's 1/6 of an acre. That would make 400 of those properties conforming. So we discussed this at the last time we talked, and now based on a general kind of agreement, or let's see what it looks like on paper. Here's what it looks like on paper.
Yeah, I think it fits our non-conforming township, and I use that term not in a bad way. It is what it is, right? Being an old cabin, pseudo up north from Detroit from 100 years ago. It is what it is. Big lots, little lots. And this allows for more flexibility, and anything that we can do to fit property into a conforming category, I think is a good thing.
We're a built-out community, nearly built-out community.
Right.
The parcels in the township that are undeveloped right now, many of them are R1A, R1B already. Usually any undeveloped parcels that are R1C or R1D are immediately adjacent to R1C or R1D. And so, the thought is, these are well-established, nice neighborhoods.
Yeah. I think the impervious surface is the only thing that sticks out for me, knowing that your footprint, your patio, your driveway, those all count towards that 60%.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I don't love that part.
Yeah, I don't either. But it makes sense, though, because you're still going to need a driveway. Most people will put in some type of a patio.
Well, the thought is because you're going
And I see
slightly
just more
smaller
variances
lot.
going to the ZBA.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know I had a discussion with Adam earlier. I would really like to see impervious surface go away. Here's why. We have ordinances tied to parking, right? We enforce parking ordinances. We said you can store up to 3 units on your property. Oh, by the way, it has to be concrete or asphalt. Can't be gravel. So what we're doing is we're encouraging people to put gravel in because they're doing it. You don't need to get a permit to put gravel in. So we tell them you can park it, you can park, but you have a 50-foot lot in Point Rosa and you don't have parking, number one, in the streets. You only can build a certain size garage and you want to store your boat there. Now what are you going to do? So on one hand, we're telling you can't park shit there. On the other hand, we're saying you can't put it in concrete because you can only store on concrete. To me, it's counterintuitive.
But
it really
it depends on the size of the lot.
Well, no, but here.
But it also makes sure that we're covered for any condition for people who want to take advantage of that. I mean, and we don't.
We don't want it all paved,
right.
then we're going to have bad water quality problems.
Well,
Like,
but
And
here's the whole
flooding.
thing is,
Drainage is an
everyone
issue.
by the water drains into the lake. So what difference does it
Not
make?
everybody, when they're different elevations,
Everyone drains to the lake.
one guy who has a different elevation than the other, and they have retaining walls or whatever, it's completely paved, then all of his water doesn't go into lake, it goes into his
So I can
neighbors.
tell you right now that the impervious service calculation we have today, people are not pulling permits when they're replacing driveways. You know why? Because they can't even replace it to what it's been built with for the last 20 years.
But just because people are not complying with the ordinance
No,
doesn't
but
mean we
I
should
buy a
get
house
rid
that has
of
a
the
driveway
ordinance.
that was not compliant 20 years ago, and I want to replace the driveway. And I can't. That's not right. And I drain
no,
all
it's
my water
grandfathered
into the
in.
lake.
And
It seems
doesn't
like
make
you're
any
very
sense.
passionate about this
No,
issue, Larry.
Because
But
it's a stupid,
there-
to me, it's stupid to
well,
have it that high.
and there are options. I mean, there are
Yeah, I
options.
mean, I think there's
I
a
mean, where I
compromise.
live,
But
we
they're
do not
expensive.
want to have my quarter-acre lot completely paved.
No.
We don't want
Same here.
that
I
to
think most
allow.
people wouldn't.
But
But-
people
True.
wouldn't, but people who want to store all their stuff
But
in their
but
backyard
here's
would
the whole
just
thing,
pave their
would
whole
you
back.
rather see them dump gravel and then?
Didn't we not allow
gravel? I thought we cut gravel out.
There's a guy doing
Yeah.
it, right?
Because
This-
nobody enforces anything.
Yeah.
It comes
That's right.
back
That's
to
what I'm
that
saying.
There's
enforcement.
more
Now you have
trailers
people storing
and boats
stuff on gravel.
than there used to be.
Now grass is growing through the gravel. Now you have an eyesore.
In my neighborhood, people just
That's the
build
eyesore.
their own driveway and park their trailers
Right.
on it and don't care.
And
And,
nothing.
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
nobody
they're not-
ever comes,
They're not
and,
pulling permit to do
and
the
nobody
driveway.
comes and writes them anything.
My neighbor's
I actually had
parked
to
there.
call the Eagle
I
on
just-
someone who cleared out the conservation easement so they could store their boat trailer.
So when you say impervious surface 60%, does that mean that 60% of the, or 40% of the lot has to remain impervious?
Correct.
40% of the lot has to remain impervious.
It has
That's
to
right.
remain
Pervious.
pervious.
Rain has
Pervious,
got to,
yeah.
right, drainage. It has to
It has to infiltrate.
Right.
No, I
Yeah,
just,
so it's
you can have up to
And in
60%
Isn't
hard.
in waterfront, isn't it 75%, I'm pretty sure?
Well, in no case shall the impervious surface ratio exceed 75%. What am I on? I just had, I'm in
Waterfront
R1D.
is 75%, which is really high.
It is high.
I think it's 50, like.
But
these
again,
other
you know, you're
percentages.
telling people, don't park in your grass, don't put down gravel, and you have their impervious surface so high on these smaller waterfront lots, they can't do nothing.
Well, Larry, I
So
think.
what you do is you are promoting people to break the rules.
Okay, I think what we're promoting is for people not to load up their property with trailers and
But you're
boats
not,
and
because
vehicles.
they dump gravel or they just park on the grass.
Okay, I let you talk. My turn now?
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, that's what we're saying, is you have to if you have a vehicle or a trailer or a boat, you can only have enough to fit your lot. And if my neighbor is like paved their entire lot or gravelled, paved it and loaded it all up with boats and trailers and RVs and unlicensed and inoperable vehicles or even operable ones, that is an eyesore. That's the eyesore. So if they're, okay, I'm not done. If they're limited on how much that they can have paved, then that means that they will have the proper proportion of accessory structures, which these RVs and trailers and boats become. And that is the eyesore and the problem and what neighbors have to deal with. So, I mean, I get we're looking at it from two different sides, but my side's valid too.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm in favor of completely eliminating it, because I think that opens the door to abuse, and we don't want to enhance.
I think the percentages need to change.
Yeah.
I just moved into chart. I think our R1C, the percentage is ludicrous. If you came by, it's all new houses going in. If you came to my house, it's a lot of grass. I feel like it's too much. I don't hate cutting it. I want to put a simple walkway from the side of my garage to my backyard. I can't because I'm within like 0.5%. And it's because I'm a non-conforming lot because we're 71 wide, 120 deep.
But you would be changed unless you were.
It would be perfect. So I think raising the percentages.
You're getting
totally
the raise
doable
here, like a substantial raise, and I think you were in one of the chart was listed on here.
The last
one.
Yeah.
So you would be able to do that now because it went up from 35% to 45%.
I think we're
So you
sitting
have
at
an
45 right now in R1C.
It would go to 55 in R1C.
Which
So
would
that's
be totally
a 10%
doable.
more that you could do.
So the change is nice because, like I said, you're so limited. And right next to me is a brand new house going up, 2,400 square foot.
Yeah.
2-story, 3-car garage. You know, and they're pulling it off, and they're
Taking a lot of space.
plenty of green space.
Yeah. So
and that's the point.
Nice new
Okay, so,
neighborhood.
all right, so let's bring it back to the proposed then.
So the R1A right now is the maximum impervious surface ratio, or the maximum percent in R1A, just so everyone knows, is 40. In R1B, it's 40%. R1C, it's 45%, proposed to be increased to 55%. And then R1D, it's 50%, proposed to be increased to 60%.
So it's a small.
Yeah, 10% increase in the R1C and R1D. The question is, do we want to look at the R1A and the R1B, which are both at 40 right now? Should we increase even those to 50? 10% across the board for all 4 of the single-family residential districts? Or just keep it because we're reducing the size of R1C and R1D, which is a reason why you increase it by 10%.
I certainly wouldn't be in favor of R1B. That entire area of the township.
That's the center of the township. Yeah.
Is all on septic, has drainage issues, and putting more impervious surface.
And enforcement issues.
That makes sense.
That's a huge one.
Cause.
All right, so let's leave R1A and R1B alone.
Yeah. So I would say that this is to increase the C and D up 10% would be a compromise approach.
Yeah, I'd like to see it more. I'd like to see it at least 5% more.
I'd like to see it less, so yeah, compromise.
In
2.5%?
In the event there were, I believe this still could go to ZBA for variance.
Yes.
So I was going to say.
You're the outlier case.
We had a case from someone who bought a waterfront property, and actually he bought the house. It was over impervious surface calculation. He had a deck that was falling apart in the back. He wanted to put in a patio. We waived gave him the variance on the impervious surface, and he was like, to be honest, I need to redo my driveway, but I'm doing this first because the deck is a hazard. And he said, I don't want as much driveway as I have because there's no way I can afford to replace the driveway that is there. And it was the whole front yard. Every square inch of his front yard was driveway. And we were very flexible in that, you know, obviously we don't want a derelict deck just because it's considered impervious, versus a guy who's trying to invest in the property. And also, when he redoes his driveway, probably going to make it smaller because he can't afford the amount of concrete that he needs.
Well, that's the beauty of the ZBA, though,
yes.
is that every case is very specific and specialized to that property. So the percentages that we were presented with now, do we have did you provide a sample?
Oh, like a drawing?
Yeah,
graphic?
because
no.
that's always a nice,
Yeah.
that's always a nice
No.
a visual representation to see what the actual percentage of the property that remains green.
Yeah.
I'd be curious what other waterfront communities in our county allow. I mean, we allow a lot more.
St. Clair Shores,
We allow, I'll tell you, St. Clair Shores does not allow people parking boats and RVs and all the stuff that we allow. And I brought that up when we talked about that ordinance. So we're very generous in the fact that we allow people to store their recreational vehicles on their property.
So many.
Okay.
So many.
Yep, I can
So
look into
I
that.
would definitely be interested to see what other communities allow.
I would agree with that.
Especially on canal streets
Yep.
and stuff. Chesterfield, there's some big homes on small lots too up there.
So we'll keep it as it's shown in the draft right now, 10%. And then I'll report back on what St. Clair Shores has and some other waterfront communities. Okay?
Okay.
The next change would be the fourth bullet here. You had asked, and I agree, that the adult foster care small group homes, which is as many as 7 to 12 people, we initially had, I think they're currently allowed in the R1C and R1D districts, and we're eliminating them from the R1C and R1D districts just because they're so small, and that's just too many people for a single family lot. The next one, we hit the name of the RM1 district. So in line with the master plan, this draft reflects the change in name from multiple family residential to attached / townhouse residential. And as we discussed in May, we're taking out multiple family apartments entirely as a potential use allowed within the RM1 district, keeping the attached townhouses as a use allowed and single family, but not allowing the multiple family apartments. And again, that's defined in the ordinance now. It's kind of the conventional, traditional, where you'd walk into one door leads to a hallway where you'd have however many units are inside the building.
Yes,
Duplexes, townhouses, maybe attached single family, yes, but not the conventional multiple family. So that's an entire district that currently allows multiple family that would be no longer allow traditional multiple family. Since we added adult foster care facilities to the ordinance because the state law says that we have to address these, we did add some proposed regulations, just use standards for these facility types. So that's on page 145. So some basic standards for the adult foster care, family homes and large group homes. Outdoor play area shall be enclosed. Can't change the visible characteristics of the neighborhood. Can only have one non-illuminated sign. They need to be licensed in accordance with the state. And then for the larger ones, the congregate facilities, these are not homes anymore. These are actually facilities. Has to be directly accessed onto a major or secondary road. Have to have at least 5 acres in area. You need to provide at least 1,000 square feet of lot area per bed, so that sets the density. No building shall exceed 25 feet in height, and then licensing. They're just kind of basic standards for these adult foster care
So
use
it's being
terms.
restrictive, but it's letting the state of Michigan, that's the umbrella.
Yeah, the state of Michigan is, they license these facilities. Of course, Michigan requires them to get local approvals and it has to meet zoning.
The state will sell you out in a heartbeat on those, let me tell you. Coming from a fire department side, we had a major lawsuit in Clinton Township against one of the bigger ones.
Oh, really?
And, it actually won it
Huh.
in the county. But yeah, it's stellar to the smaller ones that cause most of the problems. And this is something that should probably be referenced to the fire department for issues they might have, because let me tell you, it's a beast that's growing rapidly.
Yeah, well, as we age. A few pages down, we just added a couple regulations for group daycare homes. So similar to adult foster care homes, group daycare homes. The only thing that we did is, you can see it up here, there's a current provision for group daycare that says that the proposed use, if approved, shall be inspected for compliance with these standards prior to occupancy at least once each year thereafter with 10 days and blah, blah, blah. So really this is, state licensing. It's their responsibility now to do this, so we don't want to take on that responsibility. So just striking that standard there. So that is a new change in this draft.
That's also something that's growing in popularity.
The group
Nobody
daycare.
can afford daycare.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So those are the text changes that are included in this draft, and again, they were highlighted in yellow for you. And then I'm sure you saw the map, so we can look at the map that's included in here. I can zoom into different areas. So in the legend on the map is toward the front of the packet. If you're looking for it, it was like a couple pages after the memo. So again, we had talked about these lot size in the R1C, R1D, change the name of the RM1. We had previously talked about eliminating the R1 entirely because it really serves no purpose, and change it to the recreation and open space district. So the golf course, the Metro Park properties would now be in this ROS district. And then in May, when we discussed this map, we looked at some of the neighborhoods already where, for example, like here, I've got it pulled up on screen, where these properties are zoned R1C, this area right here, for example, but the lots essentially are all the size of the R1D, so we had talked about these. But the change on this map that I wanted to bring to your attention. So the thought is now, it's a question as well. So now that in the RM1 and the RM2, we're trying to differentiate the two districts, where the RM2 is that's the one where we can accommodate traditional multiple family. The RM1 is the one where we would no longer accommodate traditional multiple family. So then that brings up the issue of, okay, well, are there some properties that include traditional multiple family complexes that are currently zoned RM1, and by making this change, we would cause them to become non-conforming, and that could cause an issue for their operations. If one of the buildings would burn down, and now our ordinance says, no, you can't rebuild it like for like kind of a thing. So on the map, I kind of tried to comb through, and I'm looking, no decisions tonight, looking for your feedback. Maybe you know some others, and if you could do your own kind of research to figure this out. There are a handful of properties like this one here, which is...
So Maple Forest? No, I think that's Beechwood Townhomes. That's what they call them.
This one is RM2 zoning.
Oh, no, those
Okay.
are those condos.
Okay, so to my first point, this is not a good example. That's a good
You're
example for
thinking
my
of
next point.
Prentice apartments up there.
Yes. Okay.
Those ones.
So here's an example, Prentice Point Apartments. traditional multiple family. It's actually zoned R1C right now. So it is non-conforming right now. So here's an example. Mr. Bardell, I know this is not the rezoning case are these two parcels right here. No proposed change for those, of course. But for the Prentice Point apartments, maybe do we want to, in this case it would be an upzoning to the RM2 from R1C to reflect the fact that it is an apartment complex today.
Right. Did we give them a condition when they built those apartments?
I have no idea how it happened
They
to
just
that
built,
R1C.
they just built another phase
Yeah.
last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were approved for that.
Didn't come through us.
So is that
Not that I recall.
because?
No, they just.
They probably had the
I
plans.
think they just.
No,
did
no,
upgrades.
because I went to the other, it was brand new section in the back, new roads, new buildings.
Was it part of like an approved build out or something
Maybe.
like that?
I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
it was. a
But there was more property back there.
Okay.
So, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know
So
if
that
whole-
makes sense.
Has that whole area been, I guess that's a question.
Yeah, I mean, that
we
makes
look at.
sense.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see what you're
Yeah.
saying, like that.
Yeah, you can see the open space back there.
Where are we looking at?
Yeah, here's Prentice Point. Oh yeah, so this building, maybe that's the one you're
That's the
talking
new
about.
one, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. See, and they still have the space, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Probably
I
that
don't
was
know,
part
maybe-
of an approved build
Well,
out, but
maybe that whole parcel is. I guess that's,
yeah.
I'd like to find it out, because if it's not,
Yeah.
I don't know if I really want to put
Well,
more.
Well, think about it. If you, are we only talking about this blue highlighted area?
No. These two.
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you.
These two.
Okay,
No, this-
okay, I see. There we go.
These are ones, so.
Prentice right here.
Ashland right here.
Or Ashland.
These have been there. This is all,
No, that new one was just built last year.
This one right here?
Lot,
That one?
Yeah, that was just
I'm
built
trying,
last
because
year.
I thought
That's
there
right, you
were
live-
buildings here.
yeah,
I
did you
lived
live
down
in there
here,
for a little bit?
right where they were starting to build these.
Okay.
And I'm trying to think, I thought there's more buildings in between Ashland and where they started.
Okay.
So,
So anyway, okay, so this
they
is,
own over here too, don't they?
I
I thought somebody had said that they own part
What is
property on
that,
this
so?
side.
I think they do.
Is that R1C?
yes.
That's R1C.
Like, I think it's a combination of two, actually. Yeah, so that's this parcel right here, R1D and R1C, combination of the two
Okay,
across the street. But again, these are the two that we're talking about.
all right.
You know, I would be of the ilk. So these properties right here.
Yeah. Yeah, the
Yeah, so.
commercial.
That's where the boat, that's the gas station, the boat store.
So
Yeah.
where's the one that's got the sign to the east side of
Right where
Jefferson?
ROS is.
This
right.
one right here. Okay.
Oh.
So I'm like, what in God's name could they put up there?
Oh, it's all wetland.
It's
But
all
see,
wet.
like
Yeah,
these,
no.
if this is truly Prentice property, I really don't think it should. I would
We
not
don't
be in
wanna
favor
rezone
of
them.
building-
No, I'd want
No.
to keep that.
Building,
ROC.
but if they say,
Right.
well, wait a minute, we're
Well, we should
zoned this way
know
over here.
what it is
And we
that
built, why not here?
they're allowed to build, because wouldn't that build-out plan, doesn't that expire at some point? And never has
I
to
don't
come
know
back
anything
to us?
about that.
We're gonna have to
Like,
pull
that's
that out.
weird.
But you have to remember, we have to take into consideration the space between the residential R1C as dedicated there on chart and camp, and the general commercial. What's the in-between space? We don't want to just go to apartment. We don't want to just
Oh,
go to
yeah.
RM2. So perhaps that's why that is not set yet. So I think we need to,
I think it's
we need
just
to
weird
dig
that
further
there's
on
still
this then.
buildings there.
Yeah.
I haven't seen, since I've been on the planning commission, this hasn't come forward.
Same.
I mean, the
Yeah,
whole
we have
point
three
is,
buildings here on
yeah,
this
the whole
north
point is not
property.
to make it harder for the residential communities that are currently existing. We do not want to say, okay, now, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
2.5 stories or 3 stories high
So
can be in your backyard.
I don't know, maybe this is one that we, because it's a complicated, it's not an easy answer, maybe we keep it the way it is and, you know, call it good.
Yeah, I would be in favor of that.
Okay, so the orange space, the RM1.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is an example, yeah, so we can go to this one here. So there are a couple of locations that are zoned RM2, but don't have a traditional multiple family complex on it. This is one of those, because it's like townhouses right now, and we could down zone to RM1. So it would eliminate the possibility that in the future they could turn it from townhomes into traditional multiple family. I can show that one on the map. So
Those are those condos.
that's right here.
Oh, so that's not, so it's Maple Forest to the
Yeah.
left.
Well, these are even
about
single
these.
family.
Yeah.
It's the Maple Forest site, that's what that's called.
Oh, it's this parcel right here.
Yeah.
It's around here. Okay.
Yep, I think that is.
Those are those Beechwood townhomes, and then that is that Maple Forest. that you're talking about.
Okay, so it's not
We're looking at Maple Forest.
this one right here.
And that's already established. That's
Yep.
that's not going on.
So these are basically attached units. Looks like 1, 2, 3 right there. So this is not traditional multiple family. So we're basically looking at saying let's go from RM2 down to RM1 to match how it exists
to
today.
what it is. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't think that's a problem.
Okay.
So the R1C though, that's behind it. Let's talk about that.
Yes.
That space right there.
It's R1B presently.
And most of the lots are R1C.
They're R1C size. Yeah.
Is that because we changed a while back the representations for those categories? Didn't we do that within the last 10 years?
That was
Within the
before-
last 10 years.
That was right before I started on the planning commission. This had been redone, I believe.
Okay.
And along with our ordinance.
So we may have missed.
It's just a matter of like at the time maybe it just wasn't done the due diligence.
Yeah, we just missed it, yeah.
You know, because you try and take these things into account.
What color is R1C on there
R1C is the yellow.
right now? Okay.
This, for example, is R1C. R1B is the green, and
What's
then
the brownish
R1D,
green?
this is R1D.
Should we like that?
Excuse
So
me.
sorry to be like pinpointing things here, but at the front of that street that you're on
Yeah.
there, that big parcel, isn't that all another side of South River? Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
I think that's all conservation easement. Should that be marked as residential open space? Just for the sake of our zoning
To be
ordinance?
specific about it so that truly
Yeah,
it
so,
can't fall
so
into
we don't run into the same thing
Right.
that we just had with Macrae where people were like, yeah, right there.
Yeah.
panicked about.
See,
Yeah.
those are all conservation easements, I believe.
Parkway, Park. Probably this
Yeah, they were
property as well.
deeded to the homeowners association.
Yep.
That would be nice to have those on there,
Mhm.
just so we don't ever have to run into that same issue that we can point out. That's single nuts. There may be a couple other ones on there, too,
Yeah.
so you might wanna just look at that whole stretch.
Do we have that map included in our master plan that shows?
What's that?
And
Shows
are
all the
those,
conservation easements?
You?
No, we don't have a map, and it's not in the master plan.
Well, we really should.
Yeah, I was able to find that Macrae one on Eagle's website. And I think a lot of these, in those subdivisions, a lot of those little areas are, were required to be.
Yeah, I'm just saying if we're gonna go to the trouble, not go to the trouble, if we're going to bring this map into compliance, then we should.
Well, we
take the
do
time
get a
to-
lot of questions about what about the wetland on that property? What about
Right, that should all
the, we
be-
had that with Victoria
Yeah.
Park, but there's no.
Yeah. There's no designation,
Yeah.
Okay, a few more of these on Union Lake Road near the freeway. So these properties are all RM1 right now. And again, based on our change, RM1 would no longer allow traditional multifamily. So there's 2 traditional multifamily kind of complexes in this stretch. And so to prevent them from going non-conforming, we could consider changing them to RM2.
If they're fitting into RM2 now, and that's the condos that are along Union Lake to the south of 16 Mile.
So this parcel here is 1.
So the only way, if those properties were completely demolished, cleared.
Yeah, they would not be able to be rebuilt.
Right.
Yeah. So basically this area right here. So that's this parcel, this little strip that has a couple of multifamily, this parcel and this parcel right here. So again, reflective of the existing condition. And there's no room for any new development there either. So. And then.
So it makes sense to change those to RM2 to fit.
Yep. And then
Then
here's the other.
mine is going to, like, what's the age of these structures?
Yeah, they're old.
Yeah.
They've been around for a
They
long
could
time.
have
On-site drainage and
if
retention.
there was a fire.
You wouldn't have any single family.
Well, and you notice what's right
Parking
behind
lot.
it.
Yeah.
Spillway.
So here's the other one. This piece right here, and that is this one over there.
Yeah, it makes sense. That makes sense.
The remainder here are of the townhome variety that would be allowed in that district. Like these are.
What are those 2 purple parcels on Shrewsbury? What is purple?
So
this map
we're
right
saying
No, on our zoning map.
Oh,
if they were destroyed, we wouldn't want,
They're just 2.
only want them to be rebuilt at that
Those
density.
2 random parcels there on Shrew.
oh, they're industrial. Yeah. The only industrial property.
Is that kind of weird to have just those 2 properties zoned industrial and there's housing on?
Oh,
It's an industrial park
It's
though.
industrial
Oh,
parkway.
That's
yeah.
that old boat place.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's
Moved over to
established.
16.
Yeah. Yep. That's been there for years, 30 plus years.
One of our quirks.
Yeah. Well, it's right off the expressway and
Bill
automotive.
Clinton Harrison.
related. I think the-
Drain.
the-
I was thinking it was down further.
Yeah. So those are the new ones tonight. So this one that we talked about, this one right here, this one from RM2 down to RM1. This one we said no. Let's just leave it as is, no change, and then a couple of conservation pieces that would go to ROS.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see the map and color coded as new,
Okay.
and especially with the.
And new colors.
Yeah, let's
I know
get
I
rid of
said
these
that.
colors.
I
Yeah.
know I said that,
I
but
know.
like
We need some clear definition.
some better
Yeah.
colors.
Yeah.
Thank you, Microsoft, for the restrictions.
Yeah, I'm sure there's something better we can add
Yeah.
now.
So as noted in my memo, that's really all that I had wanted to talk to you about tonight, but I did want to just a couple more things that we still would like to address is we're going to review and bring to you maybe some potential amendments to streamline the site plan review process. Just an evaluation of the site plan review process. Potential amendments to required parking formulas for residential uses and residential care uses. Just double checking those, confirming that they're appropriate. If we need to make some changes, we can. And then doing a critical evaluation of the plan unit development option. We know
Yes.
we've talked about that previously as well. So those are yet to come, probably in the next draft now, maybe for discussion at the next time.
We had asked about temporary uses to reduce the amount of time that is considered temporary. It's 5 years now. We talked about that being too long to be considered temporary.
Yeah, okay, so remind me again, that was, what were your thoughts on that? Because right now, we can approve a temporary use for up to 5 years with annual reviews if you call for annual reviews.
Yeah.
I think
Did
we
we
all
talk
thought
about
that
2?
5, yeah, that 5 was just too long and isn't really temporary, and that it should be 2 or 3 at the most.
Okay. Okay, so consider shortening the time.
And keep the annual review.
I had a comment on the fence ordinance in the waterfront district too, that I wanted to talk about, that just came through the ZBA.
Okay.
Again, our language, we just revised that, the obscuring, non-obscuring fence, if you'll recall. We allow for a hedgerow, but isn't a hedgerow inherently
Totally
obscuring?
Yeah,
So-
but I thought a hedgerow was a fence. Was considered a fence. I thought that's how the ordinance officer.
Yeah, so we say you can have a hedgerow, but in the waterfront district, a hedgerow would be obscuring.
Right.
Not, so we denied the variance for it, but the guy was like, well,
Was
then
it a
I'll
si-
do
was it
a
a side
50%. No, it was a whole lot.
Yeah, don't we allow restrictions by height, though?
Yes.
Okay.
So he was like asking for a variance on the height and the hedgerow. But then he said, okay, fine, I'll do a 50% obscuring hedgerow. So he was
So he's
going
gonna
to do
spacing?
like a
Yeah, but
spacing.
they'll grow into each other.
But then they'll grow into each other. So I was thinking maybe we want to say
Clarify
to
that a
get
little
rid
bit.
of the hedgerow or clarify the language around a hedgerow. Because he was like, well, maybe I could do tall grasses.
Because-
but then who's regulating even
Right.
the 2-foot height of a
Right.
hedgerow?
Right.
A fence you put in, and it's not going to grow.
Right.
Because
It can
isn't
grow
it
so
like-
much in 1 year.
Yeah, I
For-
thought we
for-
had a 3-foot.
Yeah, for a front yard, isn't it a three
Yeah,
foot?
3-foot.
So if somebody puts a hedgerow across the front of their property,
Yeah.
when it's planted at 2 feet, it's probably okay, but in
6
2 or
inches a
3
year.
years,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
6 to
I
12
mean, we
inches.
Then
denied
it's
it
against-
because it was obviously obscuring. So, but we could potentially be allowing a 50% non-obscuring hedgerow, but like you said, it grows into each
It
other.
will,
or
it will
will
grow,
grow.
sure,
It's going to
sure.
grow up taller.
and then what are you gonna do?
Yeah. So I'm proposing that we maybe don't allow a hedgerow
Yep.
as a.
So that would be, how would you word that?
I'll have to take a look at that section. I'll talk to Brent too. I know he deals with it most
Well,
regularly.
if hedgerow is allowed, then it must follow the same application as a fence. It must fall into the same restrictions
See,
as a
And
fence.
it would at planting time.
Well,
Yeah.
then it becomes a maintenance issue.
Well, no,
Well-
I don't think so. I think it then becomes a fence once it grows in.
Well, exactly, and that's why I'm saying, if we have a restriction for 3 feet on the waterfront, then a hedgerow up to 3 feet, which means then the.
Yeah, we do say a hedgerow up to 2 feet or whatever it is. Can be can be obscuring.
Can be obscuring.
The front yard, or is that not considered?
It's on
non-obscuring?
your canal
Water side.
yard, your water side.
So,
Yeah.
okay, so as long as it stays 3 feet, it's not.
2
it's
feet
con-
is
2
2
feet.
feet
It's
Obscuring
considered not-
too.
but
If it
maybe
goes
it's a front-
above
must be
2
the
feet-
front yard must be 3 feet.
it's 4 feet if it's 50% non-obscuring.
Right.
So you could technically have a hedgerow that's 50% non-obscuring
Yeah,
at the
you
time
could-
of planting.
Exactly.
At 4 feet, but who, and then it's
Or in
just
the winter.
another-
Well, and that's what I'm saying, and it becomes a maintenance issue, and it'll be resolved
And
when
also,
neighbors
Like
call.
our obscuring,
Complain.
non-obscuring
Right.
fence is
So-
like this little thing.
right,
The hedge
so-
is going to be like
Well,
blocking
so it makes
2
sense
feet.
to set that restriction now.
Yeah.
And I think you're
Yeah.
right, because I do
Yeah,
remember.
let's just make it the same.
I do remember a case.
And
a
it
few
still
years
then
back
becomes a maintenance
where
issue.
they were putting, they were actually using a hedgerow. And I believe they went to the building department and he told them, just plant them at that distance. Well, again, that was 5 years ago. I'd be curious to go out there today
Yeah,
to see
to
it.
see
Yeah,
what it
I
is.
just,
It's
I
probably
almost,
grown in,
I
right?
want to say we just don't allow that hedgerow.
So many
Because-
variables.
Because there's so many variables, and then the guy
Right.
was like, well,
Well,
I'll just
it's-
put in some grasses. Well,
It's constantly moving.
grasses are going to be growing all over the place.
Constantly changing.
Not to mention invasive.
Yeah.
So we would just basically say that would not be allowed.
Here, he's got it.
Yeah. This is
Waterfront
waterfront.
fences, yeah.
Walls, hedgerows, and protected barrier located in a yard abutting water. So it's already part of it. It's already
But we're
restricted.
saying.
No, we're allowing
We're saying there is no
We're
such
allowing
thing
it.
as a non-obscuring hedgerow, I think.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
So
that's what I'm-
hedgerows would be, come off of it.
Yeah.
So
Right.
you're saying,
Or we probably want to say hedgerows are not considered. So,
Yeah.
you know, I've always
Fence
learned
or
that it's
low
better
ground
to say,
cover.
rather than remove it,
Yeah.
to say
Be
something
specific
against.
about it, yeah.
Hedgerows and perennial areas are not greater than.
Are
15.
exempt.
See, yeah, but see again,
Yeah.
at planting,
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
planting,
They
right?
are, yeah.
yeah, so we want to eliminate the hedgerow from this exemption, essentially.
Well, I think we want to also, by nature, hedgerows are not non-obscuring.
Yeah, yeah, right. So,
Because we have,
So-
if you scroll down, then we have our clear visual of what a non-obscuring fence looks like.
mhm.
But like for a hedgerow, like I've been thinking about it a lot because yeah, we said no, you can't. Like we denied the variance for it, but then he was like, well, I'll just do it 50%, and I've been thinking
Right,
like,
yeah.
what is 50% of a
Yeah.
hedgerow?
No.
Do you put 10 hedges over
moving
here?
target.
No, 10
Move-
hedges here.
Well, or they just,
Yeah.
space them double,
Yeah.
Right.
you know, knowing that, and they'll grow in, right?
Cut the top off of every other arb.
Yeah, you know, just
Right, 50%.
Okay.
All right, so clean that up.
We'll
might
add
work,
that to
actually.
the.
So,
to the list.
this
And
is
You cut the
very-
top
so-
off of every other arm.
So still, so hedgerows, then, if they're, I guess this is just a general question, maybe I'm confused, but a hedgerow, let's say somebody has a hedgerow on the side yard, does that have to be 6 feet, or can that go, if it's totally obscuring? Does that help?
Isn't 6 feet a township ordinance? That it can only be a max of 6 feet?
Yeah.
Well, and that's what I'm
Oh,
asking,
and then
because
I
I
don't
know
want
we,
to change that because I like
No.
my neighbors are
Lots
I
of
mean, no,
time.
that's not enforced, but
Yeah, no, not at all.
no, I'm just
Because-
asking, I'm not saying, because I agree, if somebody puts them, I mean, I'm just thinking, we have a lot of people that use those
Yeah.
as.
I've talked to Brent about this one, and I know he's aware. It's a challenge. The whole section is titled hedgerows is in the title, and it talks about any fence, wall, hedge, row, or other type of protective barrier. So yes, they would be subject to this whole 6 foot.
So if somebody wanted to push it, they could push it. Now, so let me ask you another question as far as front yard. So if somebody puts hedgerows in the front yard, it's not on waterfront, is it still restricted to the 3 foot or 2 foot?
No.
So in the front, only non-obscuring decorative fencing shall hereafter be located in the front yard of a lot.
So do we need to say there again that hedgerows are not allowed?
Well,
Because again, if somebody
yeah.
puts a 2 foot, or not, it could be non-obscuring today, and in 10 years,
Yeah.
you could have 6, 8 foot arborvitae,
Well,
solid row in front of your house.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, that becomes a maintenance issue. That becomes,
Well, no, it's not maintenance, because what are you gonna do? You know,
right, you have to stay on top of it, you have to keep it in, you have to keep it in.
I think probably.
But the whole thing, wouldn't we want to say, so if somebody is gonna do that, wouldn't we want to say, no, you can't because then it goes in? Same thing, you know what I mean? Because, enforcement's a lot harder than.
Oh, agreed.
So-
agreed.
So does it make sense to say that's not allowed?
I think hedgerow in this case is defined a little different than
Yeah.
a row of trees that are of the variety of arborvitae or
No,
fir
but-
tree or spruce
right,
tree or
right.
whatever. So,
But-
but I think what they are defining hedgerow is that boxwood or privet that becomes a solid
Intended
wall
to be a solid
that
wall.
you
And-
cannot go
But it would
through.
be arborvitae.
Arborvitae's.
I mean, after a while, yes, but they are still, the difference in arborvitae is that they're trees with a trunk that you can still walk through. You cannot walk through a privet hedge or a boxwood
So
hedge.
I think to your point, we're getting at like what is a hedgerow,
That
and
should
maybe
just
that's
mean
what
it.
we need some clarification.
Yeah,
on.
maybe
Yeah, I
define
think if we
what
defined hedgerow, that would help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
to me, it would be, it's the visual.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
even though they're together, because arborvitae's have trunks,
Yeah.
you could, I probably squeeze my fat butt through there as well, right? I mean, but the whole thing is when I'm looking at it, I can't see through it, so.
Yeah.
So what's the purpose? Is
I
the
mean,
purpose
that's a
for
good
seeing,
point.
or is it people?
Right.
purpose
The
to keep
intent.
people out.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well,
Is
then-
the intent
Yes and
to
yes.
provide a visual barrier, or is it to just, green up shrub up your property?
Yeah.
So it's to the intent too, a little bit.
Yeah.
And then the waterfront, was like that proposal was specifically because they wanted to have privacy. So when you're saying that, you don't want it 50%.
You want to block the view, that's
You
what
want
he's
it-
saying, right?
They were putting in a pool, so they wanted privacy while they were in their pool, which I get, but we've talked a lot on this board about when you're on the waterfront, you're not guaranteed
Right,
privacy because everybody wants to share the waterfront.
Yeah.
Everybody wants their view.
right. And that's why
Okay.
that 30-foot.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, all right. Got my work cut out for me there.
But the
That was a
obscuring
good- that was
fence,
good.
That's a
That
tough
was
one.
good, 'cause
ordinance
I-
change
that-
did
that was a
work.
good,
And so
that was
much-
a good catch.
So much of the township is hedgerows that are now way overgrown, and
Yeah.
way grown in. In some cases, not in good shape or whatever, or not maintained well. When we have older vegetation, that's an issue. We just ripped ours out.
We ripped ours out because they were going into our
The roots were going underneath. So it's whole different now. It's like bare in front.
Does it, getting outside of the plant species though, does it fundamentally become a hedgerow if it's planted on the demising property line?
Yeah, I think that's part of it too. But it could be a screen inside the property line.
Right, because I'm thinking, oh geez, I just put up, a 6-foot fence and then put arborvitae's
Near it.
2-foot inboard and they can grow as tall as they grow.
Yeah.
So what did I gain out of it?
Technically not, though. I think if they're along the fence.
If they're on my property, 2 feet on my property, they're just, to your point, they're just there to green up the property. There's no restriction on how tall they can be in that, right? But they still create the same effect.
Yeah. I don't know, that's a tricky one. If your neighbor said, okay, I can't see over this, it's along this fence, it's serving as, I mean, I think that's a tricky point. That's a,
Could I ask some more clarifying questions here? So, why do we care that your row of arborvitaes on your side and rear yard grows to 10, 12, 15, 25 feet tall? We do care if it does in a waterfront yard
or in the front yard where it's.
or the front yard. So, should we, in addition to defining what a hedgerow is, should we clarify that we don't care about side and rear yard hedgerows or arborvitaes that are planted closely that mimic a hedgerow? But we do care in the front yards and the waterfront yard.
So front yards in general.
Yeah,
And then waterfront.
and then waterfront yards.
Waterfront backyards and side.
Which-
Within
and-
30 feet.
And in the waterfront district, people
Yeah.
consider their waterfront side more of their front yard than their front yard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're probably running into with this, with the sides and stuff, because I see it out riding my bike, and it's an ordinance thing, is hanging over the sidewalks, hanging over the paths.
Right.
You're riding your bike and all of a sudden you're like,
Oh, yeah.
you're smacking your head.
The main,
Oh, yeah.
that's what I'm talking
Once
about.
again.
It's a
Is
main-
that
That's a
what
maintenance
So
thing.
many
yeah.
places in the township that
But whether it's 6 feet tall or 20 feet tall, it could extend into the sidewalk
That's
either
what I
way.
mean, so it's growing out through the fence.
Right.
2 feet, and now
Yeah.
your sidewalk access is this much
No, I
instead of
agree,
this.
I
Yeah.
agree.
And that's your sidewalk
Yeah.
privilege talking.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna
Well,
say.
I don't have to, but it's even
That's a high
the,
class
It's when
problem I'd
you
like
walk
to
to
have.
where the sidewalks are, Danielle.
Yeah,
It's
I don't
when
know, we
you
don't
walk
actually
to where
have
the
them.
sidewalks are.
riding around
That
the
is an
township
issue.
a lot.
Yeah.
Even the paths,
Yeah.
same problem.
Well, the paths, you need to call the township and they're supposed to take care of that.
Or call the
Metro
HCMA.
Parks is supposed to come take care of that for them. We have a contract with them,
Just
so.
right up and down the path along Jefferson one day and see how horrible it is.
Oh, I have.
From just the maintenance aspect of the thing. If that's a township-owned entity, township needs to step up.
In some cases, they contract with HCMA though to do the maintenance. It just depends where.
Yeah. Along 16, they seem to. On Jefferson, not so much.
That's HCMA too, I think.
Yeah. HCMA is,
They overlook
because they do
that.
Bridgeview too.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Because like all the handicap markers for people to know that, you're going to go into an area where you got to be careful, they're all broken. They're not even there anymore. It's like, why did they even do that to start with? It looks terrible along that road. So it's just things like that. I'm out a lot on my bike, touring the area. And it's like, as much as we want to hold the people accountable, we got to hold the township accountable.
So if a complaint, if you were to call a complaint into the township, they should be, I think, maybe Barry can confirm this, they should be taking note of it and then forwarding it to the HCMA.
But in terms of like concrete work and stuff, that's.
Not for maintenance like on the surface. That's different.
But
But if it's cutting and obscuring the sign, I mean, that would be,
I would think it would have to be taken care of. Our crew may take care of that. Because I think we contracted with HCM.
I know it's for the mowing.
For specific things. Because I know, again, you're talking about, Jefferson and stuff, there's a lot of weeds growing in the road in certain spots, and they don't take care of that. Our guys have to do that. But you're right. If somebody would call, we would do that.
Respecting that, Adam, you're going to go back and revisit some strategic language and how to address hedgerows by way of terminology and restriction. I'd only offer, and I get the whole dialogue about specification at planting and what does that mean as it matures and whatnot. I'd only argue, as you think it through, that to me, the policing agency becomes the adjacent neighbor. Okay? Mm-hmm. They're going to be the ones that are going to determine at some point in time the hedgerow has gone beyond what I find to be acceptable. Mm-hmm. The adjacent neighbor may be the type of neighbor that says 2 feet is 2 feet. They're out there with the tape measure, and the minute it's over, they're on the. I get it.
On the waterfront, they will be.
Well, and I get it. Some may not. Some may say, you know what? And I only bring it up because I could also make an argument, though, that I still like the hedgerow as an architectural concept because we all would, because I can still make an argument, and I'm not suggesting to change dimension, mind you, but for sake of argument is I could find that a 30-inch high hedgerow is much more pleasing than a 4-foot-high, 50% obscuring fence. I can make the argument. I mean, I get the visual and everything, but I'm challenging you to maybe find some way not to just completely eliminate, to find some management tool that still can allow it.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I think within the first 2 feet, a hedgerow would be fine if it's under the 2 feet. But it's when our ordinance clearly states that you have to be 50% non-obscuring, that's where it starts to get messy with what does that mean in terms of a hedgerow.
Well, but the ordinance says that you, by way of design, you could be a 2-foot-high obscuring product, and then you still satisfy the ordinance.
Yep.
Because the other 2 feet is completely clear.
Well, and I think your point, Amanda, is that a hedgerow in and of itself is inherently obscuring. Yeah. If it isn't at the time it's installed, it's going to be.
Right. I think
we know that.
Well, and even if you're planting every other, you're still obscuring for that one that's planted and then grows into something.
And you're creating the situation.
That's the good point. That either based upon species or hedgerow, I don't care what time you space it, it's still going to be considered obscuring. At some point. Yeah.
I like the idea of looking into, do we still need to require 6 feet on the rear yards and side yards? It is not waterfront district. Because I don't think that gets enforced anyway.
Yeah.
And and what is the point?
What's the point?
Everybody. What's the point?
Yeah, I think a lot of people.
So do I.
Privacy fence.
And how different is that from pine trees and from any other? Where are you going to draw the line? I mean, we don't want to be that kind of neighborhood. We really don't.
Well, I just think that
doesn't.
What's the problem?
Yeah.
On a rear yard.
So let's address the items that come before the ZBA, because those are specific and cause the issue. So
it was really nice having that ordinance to fall back on too. I will say with that because it was a neighborhood dispute kind of thing, so it was helpful to say got it.
Anything else?
We've kind of cooled out on the generators in Brigantine. I think everyone has one now.
What is it?
Generators in Brigantine. Yeah. That was an issue for a long time, but I think everyone has one now, and it's
They're not building new houses there.
It was just an issue of the only place to put it was in the same spot in every house. Because nobody wanted it in the middle of their patio.
Right.
Well, it is loud.
And it has to be away from a window, and it has to be away from this and that. But
3 feet from the house.
we haven't had one of those in like, knock on wood, a year, so maybe everyone got their generator.
Nobody's pulling her permit.
Their generator.
Got smart.
Sunday workers. Okay, anything else?
Not for me. Thank you for the discussion.
Thank you very much. Like I said, I don't have my agenda in front of me. Is there anything else that we want to discuss? Any comments from the commissioners?
I do have a comment. I just wanted to inform you of the tech team meeting that was held a couple weeks ago here. This was a request from Home Pro's Ace Hardware. So they came in to tech team and they were asking about the potential of doing a propane filling station. And they had said, well, we'll just do it in one of our outdoor areas that were approved by the Planning Commission a few months ago. And I said, no, because you said this is what you were going to do in your outdoor area, not fill propane tanks. The fire marshal also had some significant concerns. So I don't know where this is going to go, but I said if you wanted to put the propane tanks somewhere, you're going to have to come back to the Planning Commission and we're going to have to do this all over again. Whether it's in one of those 3 areas that were approved or a new one. You should have thought about that before you came before us. So anyway, that was kind of the bottom line. I think more they had fire marshal issues that they need to work out to figure out if it's even feasible for them. And then the second one was Comerica Bank on Jefferson Avenue, just a minor facade change.
That's it?
That's it.
Thank you. Comments from the floor? Mr. Bardell. 3 minutes, kindly, sir.
How many minutes?
3.
What else? Okay, what I want to say was, I don't believe that we should have a Section 8 at Union Lake and Shook Road. Just want to put it out there. I don't believe we should have low income. The other thing I want to say is I don't believe we should allow Airbnbs in residential neighborhoods. I had one in my neighborhood, and it wasn't the people that rented them, it was the owner. And I know some Airbnbs are okay, maybe in the V1 district or whatever, or downtown or industrial district or whatever, but I don't believe they should be in the waterfront, and I don't believe they should be in residential neighborhoods. I just don't believe short-term rentals of any kind should be in a residential neighborhood. If you live next to one and somebody's renting it, and you're aware that somebody's renting it, and you even get an inkling that somebody's renting it, then they're probably doing something wrong. So there's so many different factors. I don't know where to start. But anyway, I've had one in my neighborhood that everyone else follows the rules except this Airbnb, and it's just been a constant battle. But that's all I would like to say about that. I don't believe we should have any short-term rentals in the residential neighborhood. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Bardell. Next meeting is August 21st, 2025. May I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Make the motion.
Support. Duncan, Ms. Oparka, 8:34. Thank you, everyone. See you in August.